You're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, 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 other than day one.
Donald Trump has successfully moved the Overton window in a way that is as dangerous for the future of democracy in this country as anything else.
This is what Vout and Project 2025 wanted.
Newsom is he's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
They control the Congress, they control the White House, and they control the courts. And so, of course, they're massively, massively overreaching. And yes, they are getting away with it right now.
This is clearly a man who cannot tolerate criticism of him or what he does, which is exactly what authoritarianism is all about.
The New York Times is just as fake as CNN and MSDNC. They really are the enemy of the people.
What he is saying, rather bluntly, if you stand up to Donald Trump, he will punish you.
Protesters in Philadelphia, state capitals in California, Minnesota, Michigan, Texas, Wisconsin, Indiana, and others showed up to oppose Trump, Musk, and Project 2025.
US and President Trump has overseen America's largest military parade in decades as nationwide protests take place against his leadership.
Demonstrations are happening right across the United States today to oppose the Trump administration.
Two visions of America. On a day the country's deepening divide was there for all the world to see.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf, and you are watching Logically Left right here, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. If you're wondering what I'm looking at, because I know I do get questions here, like, what are you always looking at? I have screens to the either side of me, and I have ADHD, so I'm like constantly distracted by screens. But I'm looking over to see, okay, am I streaming? Okay, is everything working right? How are my audio levels? You know, are they looking all right? Am I like blowing you guys out with, like, you know, my gain levels? You know, okay, how's the stream looking over here? You know, okay, what's the chat up to? So that's what I'm looking at. Okay, just in case that you were wondering, because I know I do get that question from the comments here, and I do read some comments. Because a lot of the comments that I get are actually pretty good, believe it or not. Seems like a lot of my videos aren't getting after the chuds, so that's probably why. But anyway, you know, I love the audience. I love you guys and gals and everyone in between, and I do read your stuff. So, all right. I went to No Kings in Ypsilanti. Was streaming on Twitch. Thousands of good people. Hey, Pendulous Dragon, that's awesome. Glad to see that. Glad to see you in the chat here. And I was happy to see you yesterday. I'm happy to see all of you. Okay. I'm glad you have stories. We got news. We got stuff I'm gonna go through. I've got, once again, another example of a MAGA supporter that is a danger to the American people. Not an Antifa. Not, I know, it's so strange to say. Not a trans person, but another MAGA supporter. Big surprise. We got Melania Trump getting involved in a pump and dump crypto lawsuit. Well, kind of. I've got the details on that, so we'll talk about it. We have ICE agents that are basically who we thought. Okay. And apparently too dumb to pass an open book test. You're going to love that story. Oh my God. We got the Pentagon replacing their press corps. You're not going to be surprised who they replaced it with. And then we also are going to talk about an update on Gilmar Brego Garcia and how apparently he is trying to take on Todd Blanche, of all people. Whoa. Amazing. So we got a lot of... Pump and dump does sound kind of nasty, doesn't it?
Oh my God! He admitted!
That was the wrong one. I'm just pressing buttons here.
Sexual anarchy.
That's what I meant to hit. Okay.
I like my meat tight. Tighten up my meat.
Tighten up that meat. For the pump and dump. Ugh. Ugh. Gross. Okay. I'm gonna try to look. I'm gonna try to have fun. Okay. The news is terrible. Everything sucks. Okay. Can't afford a hamburger. Okay. So it sucks. Everything's terrible, and that means I just need to make fun of everyone in this administration. So that's how I kind of cope with it. Okay. Calling people stupid because they are. That's how we're gonna get through this is with the power of mockery, okay, and caffeine. Just FYI, okay. All right. Anyway, let's start out. First story here. We have a little bit of MAGA would-be terrorism. Would be. Okay. And what is yet another example of how it is not Antifa that is violent, but MAGA. Georgia man supported President Donald Trump was recently arrested for planning to carry out an attack on an airport. Billy Joel Cagle, okay, was arrested earlier this week for allegedly planning out to carry out a shooting at the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. Cagle had spent years posting online in online forums in support, and on Facebook, obviously, in support of Donald Trump. Not just Trump, but also, the Confederate flag, and of course, no shocker, expanded gun rights. Oh, of course. Now, on the day in question, Cagle had walked into the airport. He was very interested in checking out the TSA checkpoints, but was arrested before he could go back to his truck and get his gun. That's right. Police ended up recovering about 27 rounds of ammunition and a Springfield AR-15 rifle from his truck following the arrest. Now, why did they arrest him? Hold on here. Doesn't he have a Second Amendment right? No, he's a convicted felon, so he does not have his Second Amendment rights. Oops. Now, Cagle is also being charged with making terroristic threats because, he had talked about, shooting up the place, okay, on a live stream. So congratulations. That was not a smart thing to do. Stupid. Of course, some of these MAGA supporters, not exactly the sharpest tools in the shed. Saying the sharpest crayon in the box. You idiot. Not smart. Not smart. So he's being charged with, again, making terroristic threats, criminal attempt to commit aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, as well as possession of a firearm by a felon. Oops. He might be in pretty big trouble, or he might get, well, I don't know if he'd get pardoned, but Trump might consider it if he has the ability to do so. It depends on if it's, federal or state crimes, okay? But anyway, on Facebook, to get the receipts here for his political leanings, which are pretty clear, okay? Cagle had celebrated Trump's presidency multiple times and even defended him after the January 6th Capitol riots. Writing, and this is, by the way, his post here, the transcript of Trump's statements on January 6th. Trump's speech transcript. How does peacefully and patriotic get turned into inciting a riot? That's why we don't trust the news. Right. Okay. Yep. You know that you can incite a riot without saying things like go do a riot. I'm just saying that they don't generally have to come out and say something very explicitly for it to be considered incitement. I'm just saying. Now, in addition for, of course, his defense of Donald Trump and his support of him, Cagle was a big fan of the Confederacy. Yeah. And we're not talking about the Confederacy of Independent Systems here. I doubt he's a Star Wars fan. No, we're talking about, the racist one. The one that liked doing slavery. However, this was back in 2015, obviously, him defending the Confederate flag, reposting this, where it claimed that this flag is actually a Christian symbol. Oh, you see, the red field represents the blood of Christ. The white border represents the protection of God. The blue X represents the Christian cross of St. Andrew, first disciple of Christ Jesus, patron saint of Scotland. 13 star represent the 13 southern states of secession. Thus, the message in the Confederate battle flag is through the blood of Christ with the protection of God. We, the 13 states, are united in our Christian fight for liberty. Wow. Okay, that is some pretty nice revisionist hope there. My favorite part about all that is how the flag apparently stands for liberty, despite the entire reason for the existence of the Confederacy was to allow for people to continue to enslave other people, specifically black people. But, liberty, everyone. The mental gymnastics here are just absolutely incredible. Incredible. I mean, you think he'd be in much better shape with all those gymnastics. But probably my favorite post that he had shared is actually how he is a responsible gun owner. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. In one post in 2015, he actually reposted something that said, "I stand behind you in the line at the store with a smile on my face and a gun under my shirt, and you are none the wiser. Yet you are safer for having me next to you. Are we? I don't think so." The message also described carrying a concealed weapon as a duty to defend one's own family and others if a lunatic walks into a grocery store. What about the lunatic that walked into an airport? But again, Kago shouldn't even have had a gun because he is a convicted felon, and convicted felons are barred from owning firearms. The man had driven to Atlanta's main airport armed with an AR-15 and 27 rounds of ammunition after doing a live stream where he had promised to shoot it up. Doesn't sound like a responsible gun owner to me. It actually seems like he's more like the person society needs protection from. Now, how did he get caught? Well, it wasn't because of Kash Patel's FBI, I can tell you that. Now, it turns out that Kago's family had alerted authorities before he was able to act, preventing what officials described as a potential tragedy from unfolding. The man's own social media history, of course, shows him wholly steeped in pro-Trump, pro-gun, Second Amendment rhetoric, and again, framed himself as a defender of other people, which again is not true. Because just a few years later, he had allegedly planned an act of terrorism that would have made him the very threat that he had claimed to be against. If this isn't a great example of far-right radicalization, I don't really know what is. And it's funny because, you've got MAGA out there and Trump claiming that it's a radical left. They have become unhinged and violent. Okay? You know what they're doing? You know what the radical left is doing right now in Portland? They're having dancing protests wearing frog and dinosaur costumes. Okay? That's the radical left. Okay. Look, no, in reality, it is the right wing that has been radicalized into doing violence. January 6th is a great example, but not the only one. Far from the only one. There have been many, many more. Most of the political violence in this country comes from the right wing. That's the reality of the situation. That's not to say that there hasn't been a radicalization on the left as well, but much different than the right. You see, what that looks like is not people grabbing their guns and doing violence. It's normie liberals realizing that, oh, what the right wing keeps calling radical socialism is actually just doing things like taxing the rich, building infrastructure, and providing health care to everybody, all Americans. Look, the reality is there is no radical left in this country, but there is a radical right, and it's killing us. Or at least trying to. How many rounds? 27. Very strange. Why only come in there with 27 rounds? I don't know. Maybe you thought that was enough. All right. Let's talk about some crypto. We got a little bit of pump and dump here. First Lady Melania Trump is apparently being dragged into a lawsuit over a crypto meme coin, the Melania coin. Apparently, investors believe that they were deceived and that the creators of said meme coin were the only ones that were enriched, according to a new lawsuit filed in, not a new lawsuit, a lawsuit filed in federal court back in April, actually. Again, it basically involves the Melania meme coin, which, again, Trump also has his own meme coin because that's what we're doing now. That's what our economy is now based on. It's based on memes, like the Doge dog and, you know, the president and celebrities. And then, you know, you get these people, these investors, and that keep getting screwed over by these meme coins. I don't get it. I never will. Okay. Now, the suit, again, involves that coin in which the 55-year-old First Lady had promoted to her social media on the eve of Donald Trump's second presidential inauguration. She wrote, "The official Melania meme is live. You can buy Melania now." And buy they did. Oh, yes. Trump supporters pushed that coin to trade at an all-time high of $13.73 a piece. Wow, that's a lot for a not real coin. But anyway, yeah, nothing lasts forever, obviously, especially the worth of worthless meme coins. Okay, and by Wednesday, okay, Wednesday of this week, Melania was trading at less than 10 cents a coin, going from $13 to 10 cents. Yikes, that is one hell of a crash. All right, one hell of a crash. Now you'd think, if you're a normal person, wow, what a failure. This was a stupid investment and a very stupid idea. Who would invest in something like this? Well, we all know the answer there. And look, the reason that it keeps happening is because you've got people, some people, that get very, very rich. Okay? And that's what this pump and dump is all about. Or I should say it's a Trump and dump. Okay? Now, the investors, by the way, who lost out, ended up filing a class action lawsuit back in April against Benjamin Chow, co-founder of the crypto exchange Meteora, and Hayden Davis, co-founder of crypto venture capital firm Helsier Labs, among others, according to a report in Wired. This week, plaintiffs had asked to file an amended complaint accusing Chow of acting as a quote-unquote commander who had launched, pumped, and dumped at least 15 different crypto coins, including Melania. Melania, of course, is not named as a defendant in the lawsuit, nor is she accused of any wrongdoing. In fact, the plaintiffs suggest that she was also a victim. Oh, big surprise there. She was deceived along with these investors. Deceived into wasting your money on meme coins. Okay. They said, Melania Trump's team, to the extent it granted any permission, did so without knowledge of the fraud, the insider rigging, or the deceptive launch mechanics. Had they been aware of the project that was part of a coordinated criminal scheme, they would have rescinded any consent immediately. I don't know about that one, folks. Okay. Okay. Sure. She could have been deceived. That's plausible. Sure. But I don't know. I don't think she was. I think if she didn't already know, okay, we'll make that assumption, right? That she didn't know that this was a pump and dump, rug pull, whatever. I think had they told her what was up, that she probably would have been okay with it as long as she got a cut. Okay? Because that's how the Trumps operate. It is. They want a cut of it. They don't care if it's like, oh, yeah, screwing other people over. This is a family that can no longer do business in New York, or a charity can no longer run charities in New York because they defrauded them. Okay? So yes, they're stealing from charities. You think they're going to have a problem stealing from crypto bro investors? Come on. And by the way, it's not like the Trump family has not been heavily involved in doing crypto schemes. The Wall Street Journal reported in September that the family has made about $5 billion in profit from the crypto industry. They are heavily involved in it, folks. In May, Trump hosted holders of his own meme coin, Trump, for dinner at his golf club in Virginia. So come on. I mean, the only way that the Trump family, I think, would be angry at these crypto bros is if they didn't share their profit with them. And if they did, it's going to let it go. I mean, the fact that Melania is not actually actively involved in that suit, saying, yeah, you did use my likeness, you did deceive me, kind of tells me that there might have been a deal here. I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing. But like, we know how litigious the Trumps are when it comes to what they feel is their money, right? Anything that has to do with their name, if they don't get a cut from it, they're going to sue you. And we've seen that. So it wouldn't shock me at all if we find out later that down the road that Melania knew this coin was a pump and dump rug pull scheme, but was okay with it and allowed her likeness to be used and promoted it, whatever, because she was given a cut. I'm just saying. That said, I do wonder how many more crypto scams the right wing is going to fall into before they realize that they're continuously being targeted by grifters. It is a target-rich environment on the right. Of course, to answer that question, if you ask me, they'll probably never get it. Ever. Okay. So there you go. All right. Let's see. We'll move on here. Oh, for those of you who are just tuning in, please like and share. Very important that you do so. Dave Early Wise 3479 said Melania, if she would adopt a progressive worldview, she could probably promote her profession and advocate for other sex workers. I mean, assuming that you're like being, legit here and advocating for sex workers, I advocate for sex workers as well. I think that what they do should not be criminalized, and I do have respect because it's a job. It is a profession, and the people that work in that profession do deserve protection and, I believe, a little bit of respect, because it's obviously people want those workers. It's an important profession. So, but anyway, again, I'm assuming because I've never seen you in here before, so I don't know for certain. But that would be great. But she's not gonna do that. I just don't think that's just. I don't think that's who she is. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, yep, it's this one. Oh boy. Turns out that the people working for immigration and customs enforcement are exactly who we thought they were. What do I mean? Well, the Department of Homeland Security, according to a recent report, had hired recruits that had failed drug tests, oops, had criminal histories, oops, or they didn't meet the physical fitness or academic criteria required by the agency.
Whoopsie.
Oh no! Oh no! Now, this is according to to one current and two former DHS officials that had spoken to NBC News. So, yeah, turns out ICE full of criminals, dumb people, and fatties. Wow. Congratulations. Good job. Now, what kind of criminal history, by the way? Well, one recruit at the ICE training facility in Brunswick, Georgia, current DHS official said, had been charged with strong-arm robbery and battery over a domestic violence incident. Oh, the incident, domestic violence. Way to go. Way to go. That same official and the two former officials also said that some of the recruits in the 6-week training course, and I'll get to that, hadn't even completed one element necessary for their background checks, which of course is their fingerprints. Now, why wouldn't they have gotten their fingerprints done yet? Maybe they're already in the system, and so their fingerprints might bring up something bad. Not an average oversight here. No, we know the reason ICE is hiring criminals to do criminal shit. I mean, it can't get any more obvious. Okay, but look, now, I'm going to get to the more. Okay, I'm getting more to this stuff. But first, the former officials said that ICE's vetting and drug test policies have not been adhered to as strictly as it was before the agency sought to increase staffing. Remember, they're trying to hire about 10,000 new ICE officers by next year, okay? And it's all part of the big push, right, to hire more people and to do the, mass deportations they promised, the 3,000 a day, which is impossible. There's not that many criminal illegal aliens in this country, okay? Why do you think they're targeting people that are at work at Home Depot, all right? Or the people that are out toiling in the fields to pick our food, okay? That's why they're going there. They're targeting working people, okay? I mean, seriously, that's what's going on here. But anyway, yes, they have these gigantic, goals here of hiring about 10,000 agents so they can finally get to their 3,000 arrests per day, okay? And they got a huge funding increase from Trump's one big, beautiful bill, okay? It increased funding from about $10 billion to over $100 billion by 2029. You realize that is more money than the military forces of some entire countries. ICE, the jackbooted thugs, okay, and criminals. That's instead of going after criminals, ICE is hiring them. I kid you not. I mean, as long as they're not too fat, because that is one of the things that Hegseth not in favor of. Look, in all, more than 200 recruits had been dismissed since the summer hiring surge, according to internal ICE data obtained by NBC News. Now, less than 10 of them were dismissed over the criminal charges, drug tests, or their safety concerns. But whatever happened to everyone else? It turns out the vast majority could not meet either the physical or academic metrics. Okay, which, by the way, Like, their training has been relaxed. I mentioned that they have a 6-week course, okay? Used to be 13 weeks. Then they reduced it to 8, and then finally shortened it to 6. They also waived the age limits so that older folks could join in the fun of, you know, cracking the skulls of immigrants, basically, of Latinos, okay? And you know, it turns out doing that, oops, we're no longer hiring the best of the best. No kidding. No kidding. Look, this is an amazing stat. It turns out that nearly half of all the new recruits who arrived for training over the past 3 months were later sent home because they could not pass the written exam. Here's the best part, okay? That written exam is literally an open book test. That's right. The academic requirement includes an exam in which officers are allowed to consult textbooks and notes at the end of a legal course on the Immigration and Nationality Act and the Fourth Amendment, which outlines when officers can and cannot conduct searches and seizures. Kind of an important thing. That is super important. Okay, you know, knowing the Fourth Amendment and all. But apparently, these people could not even pass an open book exam. It explains so much, y'all. It explains so much. Oh my God. A slightly smaller group ended up getting dismissed because they failed the physical fitness test or had particular medical issues that barred them from becoming ICE agents, from passing that physical fitness exam. Okay. And by the way, some of those who were sent home had made it clear on their applications that they were not able to meet ICE's physical requirements, but they were sent to training anyway. I mean, absolutely amazing. Look, one of the former DHS officials with knowledge of the agency's hiring said this, quote, "They are trying to push everyone through, and the vetting process is not what it should be." Exactly, and that's the point. Look, they're trying to push as many people through training as they can because it's not about staffing this agency with qualified people. That's not what it's about. It's about trying to build a private army answerable to Donald Trump. That's it. We have to stop thinking about ICE in old terms, okay? We have to stop thinking that Trump is trying to build this as a way to safeguard the nation from the threat of immigrant gangs, okay, and criminals. No, that's not what it's about. This is an army of brown shirts, only answerable to Trump and Stephen Miller. Okay, that's it. That's what ICE is about. Abolish ICE if you're not clear. And that has been my position since people first started saying abolish ICE. And yet, I mean, what did the Democrats do? They funded ICE. Oh, of course they did. So there you are. And look, they are the brown shirts. When you look at the behavior from these people, you see who and what they are. They're Proud Boys. They're January 6ers. Look, one of the agents, by the way, just as an example of how they treat people, okay? One of the agents had told an American citizen that was rounded up as one of their raids, Annabelle Romero, told her that they would, quote, blow her effing head off. This was during a raid that happened in Idaho, okay? That she had told a local news outlet, quote, "They just told me to shut up," is an American citizen, "and shoved me to the ground. I got kicked on the side. They pulled my shoulder all the way back and shoved my face into the horse shavings. I couldn't really breathe. They zip-tied me. I kept telling them I couldn't breathe." Annabelle said that finally, after hours of interrogation about whether or not they're here illegally, okay, Her and her children, yes, her kids were there, were released. They didn't care about the kids, okay? Annabelle says, it just breaks my heart that they had no sympathy towards kids. No sympathy. And all these people, they didn't care if it was criminals. All they wanted was the people that were illegal. That's all they wanted. They didn't care. That's just one example. The kind of people that ICE is hiring and the kind of mission that they are on. And if you were totally cool with what they're doing, then I got news for you. You're a bad person. You're a broken person. And you need a lot of help. So there you go. The last count of pardoned J6ers in ICE was over 600, according to applications. Yep, exactly. That's who they're hiring. MAGA supporters, J6ers, because no moral person wants to be a part of that. No good person wants to be a part of ICE, knowing who and what they are. All right. Open book means nothing if you can't read. Comment of the day. That was pretty awesome. My former neighbor, next door neighbor, is now an ICE agent. He was also at J6. That tracks. That tracks. How many millionaires have been deported? Still zero? Yeah. Well, you think Donald Trump's going to deport millionaires? No, of course not. He's corrupt. You know, he's the same guy who now, has a $5 million golden visa, so you can just go and buy your way into the country? Yeah. That guy's not going to get rid of millionaires. Okay. A wrongly deported migrant who is now being charged with being a member of a gang by the Trump administration is looking to sue the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, along with several other Justice Department officials. You know, basically to fight back against the injustice that's being perpetrated against him. Politico's Kyle Cheney reported on Wednesday that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was filing a motion and actually posted the government's response to it. Here is some of that. It says, defendant's motion to compel now asks this court to authorize an open-ended fishing expedition into internal governmental documents and communications that would never be subject to discovery in the normal course. Gee, why not? He seeks such extraordinary and intrusive discovery, moreover, in furtherance of a claim of vindictive and selective prosecution that is meritless on its face. Really? Disagree. The relevant prosecutorial decision maker, the acting U.S. attorney, has explained on the record that this prosecution was not brought for vindictive or discriminatory reasons. Yes, and we're supposed to believe that? Yeah, right. Okay, sure. That would be a lie, which of course is par for the course for this government. They have lied about Abrego Garcia numerous times. I mean, this is, by the way, after unsuccessfully trying to get him unalived by sending him to CCOT, where he was literally tortured. Okay? Yes, the El Salvadoran prison. Okay? And by the way, they sent him to that prison despite the fact that there was a court order that exists that barred his deportation to that country. They defied the courts. And when they were ordered to bring him back, this administration says, well, nothing I can do. Oh, I don't have no jurisdiction. That was, again, a lie. El Salvador was also saying, oh, we don't have the jurisdiction either. So both sides were saying, I don't have the jurisdiction to send him back while he sat and suffered in that prison. I mean, that's heinous. Absolutely heinous, okay? All of it. They were lying. They were lying. And so, look, after the outrage, the administration, the DOJ ended up having to relent and move to have him returned. But his story, of course, did not end there. Oh, no. See, as soon as he came home, the DOJ promptly charged him in another criminal case and then tried to deport him to another country. They claimed that he was, he's part of MS-13. He is a brutal gang member. Based on what? Tattoos. I mean, they literally showed a picture of his tattoos, the ones on his hands, with Sharpie. Okay? They Sharpied the tattoos. These must be gang member tattoos, gang signs. That's what they're. No, they're not. No, they're not. He was not part of MS-13. No evidence whatsoever. Okay? And now, even though that argument kind of fell apart, they're still pushing to have him sent to another hell camp somewhere else. Okay? They tried this month to get a number of different African countries with absolutely no connection to Abrego Garcia. They tried to get him sent to Uganda, to Ghana, to Eswatini. So far, none of the countries were like, no, what are you doing? No, of course. Why are you trying to send him here? That's not a deportation. That's an exile. They're trying to exile him from the United States in order to teach him a lesson. I mean, it is absolutely amazing just how much time and money and effort this administration is spending to make an example of this man. And how many times that they've been willing to break the law in order to do that. Okay? Remember, they didn't give him due process before deporting him, and they knew it. Oh, they knew it, right? And now we know, thanks to a whistleblower, that a Trump appointee had tried to get a now former DOJ lawyer to lie to the court about Garcia. During a recent interview with CBS News' 60 Minutes, whistleblower Erez Raveni claimed that he was told by a superior at the DOJ to argue in court against bringing Abrego Garcia back to the U.S. on grounds that he was an MS-13 member and a terrorist. He told that superior, no, you can stuff it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Quote, that is not correct, he said of the claims. That is not factually correct. It is not legally correct. That is a lie. And I cannot sign my name to that brief. Couldn't do it. Raveni went on to say that even if Abrego Garcia had been a gang member, his right to due process was still being violated by the Trump Department of Justice. Quote, what matters here is that they did everything they did to him in violation of his due process rights. Due process, of course, is extremely important to our justice system, has been for many hundreds of years, okay? I mean, even going back to Magna Carta, okay? So, yes, this has been very, very important because due process is how you figure out if that person is, for example, undocumented, or if that person is a criminal. You have to have due process before you lock someone up, okay? Because what's to prevent anyone, and this is his quote, by the way, what's to stop them, the government, if they decide they don't like you anymore, to say that you're a criminal, that you're a member of MS-13, that you're a terrorist? What is to stop them from sending in some Department of Justice attorney at the direction of Department of Justice leadership to delay, to filibuster, and if necessary, to lie? Well, there isn't anything anymore. This government is being run by criminals, and they are doing criminal things. What do I mean? Obviously, ignoring court orders, ignoring due process. Okay, now the court orders, right? They specifically rushed to send a plane full of purportedly undocumented immigrants to be detained at the death camp in El Salvador. Ravenny pointed the finger at former DOJ official Emil Bove, who just recently was confirmed to a lifetime seat as a federal judge earlier this year. I mean, do you think that anybody who goes in front of Bove, who happens to be, I don't know, an immigrant or a Latino, whatever, is going to get a fair hearing? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. They also claimed that during a meeting in February, Bove had said that the department was not to let anything interfere with the planes that were transporting those immigrants to El Salvador, even if it meant defying direct court orders. So they knew it. They knew what they were doing. They knew they were violating court orders, and they didn't care. They said, we're going to do it anyway. The very next day, government lawyer Drew Ensign, who had been at that very meeting, according to Ravenny, told James Boasberg, who was a judge there, in court, that he had no idea whether the government was planning imminently to fly the planes out of the country. He did perjury. That's perjury. He should be arrested. Yeah, put behind bars. Okay? For lying to the court, lying to the judge. And yet that hasn't happened. But it should. It should. Now, Ravenny says, it is the highest, most egregious violation of a lawyer's code of ethics to mislead a court with intent. We really did tell the court, screw you. We really did just tell the courts, we don't care about your order. You can't tell us what to do. That was just a real gut punch. When I say that this administration is lawless, I'm not saying it, I'm not being hyperbolic here, okay? This is reality, okay? This is what I mean. This administration has ignored over a third of all court orders made against them. Instead of following those orders, they just continue doing what they were going to do anyway. And then claim, oh, no, it's not us that's not following, it's the judges. Activist judges, radical left-wing lunatics. No. This government, the Trump administration, is absolutely out of control. And I hope that Abrego Garcia's lawsuit goes forward. And I hope it exposes what else the Department of Justice has done to lie about him and to try to make an example of this man. Right? And perhaps maybe I'm a little too hopeful about all this, but maybe you can eventually get some justice for a man that has been so thoroughly wronged. All right. One more thing here. The clearly fake image they held up of his hand tattoos at the time made me furious. Absolutely, for good reason. For good reason. How do we stop this? I don't know. That is that's what concerns me. That is absolutely what concerns me. Is that I don't know how to stop this. I've never been through this situation, and I think a lot of us haven't either. But we've got to find some way to do it. Okay. Following Pete Hegseth's announcement of new rules for the Pentagon Press over a week ago, the Defense Department has finally announced that it was ushering in the next generation of the press corps. Now, you may have seen reports that a lot of the broadcast networks walked out. Okay, they gave up their press passes. They're like, screw this, man. We are not at all interested in being basically propaganda outlets for Pete Hegseth. Okay, and by the way, that also included Fox News. Even Fox News was like, this is too far. Okay, this is way too far. Well then, okay, if Fox News is not there, who's left? Who's left? Well, a bunch of hacks, basically. According to DoD spokesperson Sean Parnell, however, the legacy outlets that have left are now being replaced by what he calls a broad spectrum of new media outlets and independent journalists. Oh, really? Broad spectrum, huh? I don't know about that one. Take a look, huh? Well, some of the outlets that are now allowing or allowed to put in reporters, journalists, whatever, to report on the Pentagon include Lindell TV, Mike Pillow's outlet. Oh boy, The Gateway Pundit, Human Events, The Post Millennial, Just the News, and The National Pulse. Basically, nothing more than a bunch of far-right commentators and conservative YouTubers that do nothing but focus on kissing Trump's ass. Oh, great. Yeah, we're going to see some real unbiased journalism, holding people to account there. No. Now, while Parnell and the Pentagon's press office did not publicly divulge the names of the publications and alleged journalists who had agreed to the press restrictions, which block reporters from soliciting unclassified information from defense employees without the department's prior authorization, a number of right-wing outlets quickly revealed that they were on board with the pledge. So understand that those rules were so restrictive that, yes, even Fox News, even Newsmax was like, we're not signing on to that. We can't even do our jobs. Okay? Can't even ask questions like that are, or we can't do any investigation. Can't talk to anybody without the Defense Department saying that it's okay, without having to ask Pete Hegseth. What is this? What is this? This is not reporting. This is not journalism. Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. But anyway, Human Events host Jack Posobiec said, excited to announce Human Events and Post Millennial have joined the Pentagon Press Corps. We're excited to announce over 60 journalists representing a broad spectrum of new media outlets and independent journalists have signed, that's Parnell, saying, have signed the Pentagon's media access policy and will be joining the new Pentagon Press Corps. These are not journalists. I am not a journalist, okay? I am a YouTube commentator. And so are the rest of these people. I mean, and look, that's when they're not doing, right-wing propaganda, while they're not lying. They do YouTube. And that's pretty much it. I mean, sure, they'll be at home with One America News, The Federalist, and the Epoch Times, who are also going to be the new Pentagon Press Corps, okay? I mean, the literal Falun Gong publication, okay, the Epoch Times, is now allowed to be the press at the Pentagon. That's how far we've fallen, okay? Wow. And all they had to do in order to get those positions, Tim Pool is also part of that. Tim Pool, the same Tim Pool, who, got paid by the Russians to do propaganda. Yeah. So he's part of that one too. Okay. All they had to do was to say, oh, well, yeah, of course we're going to do stenography for this Trump regime. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to, they come out and they tell us what to write or what to report on, and then we're going to do it. That was the agreement. Regardless of whatever they're saying, because Tim Pool's like, well, we're still going to hold people to account. No, you're not. No, you're not, Tim. You're not a journalist. You're not a reporter. You're a talking head. And you know what? So am I. But at least I admit it. Okay? You think you're some sort of like journalist or something. No. How many times have you hit your head on your freaking skate park? You dipshit. You dumb fuck. Okay? You hack. I mean, my God, that guy is going to be a Pentagon press reporter? No. Fuck that. Okay, that's ridiculous. We are cooked, folks. Okay, we are cooked. Outside of Fox News, by the way, who didn't sign on to this. Okay, you had the Washington Times, the Daily Caller, and the Washington Examiner, and Newsmax that didn't sign on to this. Not even Newsmax would sign up for this bullshit. But of course, Tim Pool would. Yeah, of course. But you know what? Yeah, you know what's funny, though? I actually kind of look forward to seeing what kind of scoops the crack reporters at Lindell TV end up breaking. That's going to be fun. Won't it?
Just forget about the evidence.
And emphasis on the crack, okay? Seriously. Look, we can't trust a damn thing that comes out of this so-called Pentagon press corps or this administration, to be fair, okay? All they have there are outlets and people that are there strictly to kiss the ass of this administration. There will be no tough questions. There will be no investigative reporting whatsoever. It's just going to be pro-Trump slop. Okay, that's it. And by the way, it's funny because this is what the right wing was complaining the whole time for years and years. It's like, liberal media never holds anyone to account. No. And you know what? The thing that they were complaining about, they're absolutely going to do. Not going to hold this administration accountable whatsoever. Not going to ask any questions. Just going to write down verbatim whatever slop Pete Hegseth feeds them. Proving, of course, that every accusation that they have made about the so-called liberal media was actually a confession of what they've always wanted to do all along. I didn't really think to get that I was going to get that mad. But man, this country's gotten so much more ridiculous. I mean, over the past year. But what are you going to do? That's a question. Mike Lindell TV, noted journalist. Exactly. Oh my God. Oh, you're so cooked. So cooked. The worst. All right. Look, that's all I got for y'all today. Thank you for watching the show. Please, if you haven't already, like and share the stream. Check out the videos, like and share those as well. Speaking of cooked, right? Cooked media, we're not doing great. In fact, over the past 3 months, we've lost about 65% of our monthly views. It's a disaster. And so, yes, we do need your help. Please like and share. And if you can, become a member or become a patron, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf. Sign up, support actual independent progressive media, because I don't get Soros checks. You know, I'm not part of whatever that media outlet was or media group. I can't even remember the name of it. Chorus, I believe. Not part of that. Don't get $8,000 a month. Oh my God. Tell you what, I'd probably buy some new shirts if I had $8,000. But I don't. So, you know, I need your help. Independent progressive media. We're kind of withering on the vine here. Okay, so again, we actually have very, very few Patreon supporters. Okay, we just crossed 245,000 subscribers on the channel, which is great. It's great. You know, channel's growing. Y'all are the people that are watching. Like, I get consistently high watch time from people who are engaged. But, like, it doesn't get out there, okay? The algorithm hates me. They don't want this stuff getting out to other people, to new viewers, and newer viewers who do see it, don't hit the subscribe button. So if you are a new viewer and you like what I'm doing here, and the kind of commentary and the stories that we're doing, hit the subscribe button and make sure to hit the bell, all notifications. That's super important. And if you want to support independent progressive media, for God's sakes, sign up and become a patron. We got like 145 patrons, which is wonderful, that are paying members. And the rest, I mean, out of 245,000, that's really bad. So yes, I really do need you to sign up and support us. We're not getting the views. We are not getting the money here. And if you don't want to help fund YouTube, that's why I say Patreon is probably the best option, because it's not going to Alphabet, it's not going to Google, it's not going to any, the right-wing outlets or anything like that. Patreon.com/JeffWaldorf. That is the best way I believe that you can support this channel if you choose to do so. Yes, it doesn't help that YouTube is right-leaning as a business, but all business is right-leaning in this country. So, I mean, that's just kind of how they roll. And look, if I had no soul and I didn't care about anything and was okay with lying, then I'd have a great career in right-wing media right now. I'd be doing awesome. But then I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And I kind of like being able to sleep, and I kind of like being able to have a little bit of pride in what I do. Whereas, I can't really see anyone on the right having any pride in what they're doing, because they're constantly lying and misleading people. And so I still have that pride, even though I ain't making money. Okay, let me tell you what. There is not a lot of money on the left. Not for the size of the channel that I am. Like, if I was Brian Tyler Cohen, it'd be different, right? Or if I was, Cock-Lewinsky, it'd be a little bit different. At least be secure, but I'm not. So I do absolutely need your help, just to stay afloat at this point. And look, I'm making some changes across the channel to, help increase my reach and all that. But, once I figure things out, I'll let you know. But anyway, sign up, be a supporter, share and like the videos, leave comments, all that wonderful stuff. And that, of course, all that stuff together, it helps. Because, I still believe in trying to create something here. Something positive. I still believe in trying to promote progressive values, leftist values, and universal health care, Medicare for all, being anti-war, all that wonderful stuff. I want to continue to keep doing that. So please sign up, please support the channel, and thank you to all of those who already do. The very few of you who do, thank you. I do appreciate you. All right, everybody. Thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody. See you back here tomorrow.